The best DJ in town is here. He's revolutionary. Remarkable. And very large and in charge.
Hello?
Well, hello there, Tempie.
Hi, I think Yakima is trying to get in. So send her a message and tell her to press in where it says click here and put her name in and into the studio.
Yeah, so Yakima, if you're listening, what you have to do, you'll see there's a message that says if you have Chrome, you log it, you click on that. If you don't have Chrome, you click on the other link lower down. Okay, so you click on the link on top that says you have Chrome and you should be able to get in.
Well, you know me. I'm your little diehard. I'm here, baby.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. And I'm glad that you're getting the program off to a great start.
Of course. And right now you're listening to the best podcast in town. Tempie Williams.
Okay, Tempie, let me just move along.
Okay, I think I pressed something.
Okay, as I said, I'm going to get into the program right now. Welcome to your favorite podcast magazine, Series 1, Episode number 6. And of course, we just heard from our executive producer, Tempie Williams. She'll be on the program with me as my co-host. We're also expecting to welcome our third guest in this series, Yakima Cuffy, an award-winning Dominican writer, poet, and playwright.
Already.
And also on this episode, at 1 a.m., the British summer time begins. And in British summer time, we leap 1 hour forward. So at 1 a.m., we will leap into 2 a.m. GMT +1. We've got a packed program for you this morning, and we will talk with our guest, Yakima Cuffy, hopefully right after we give you a rundown on some of the news top stories that caught my attention for the week Sunday, March 19 to Saturday, March 25.
I'm Tempie Williams, author of the best-selling novel Feelings, and you're listening to the Albert Williams Reporting Podcast. I am Tempie.
That's right, you listen to the Albert Williams Reporting Podcast. And right now, we're going to be looking at some of the news stories that have been caught my attention for this week. Well, as you, New Land, the Kalinago Dream, a film about the indigenous people of Dominica and by extension the wider Caribbean region, produced and directed by Grenadian filmmaker Teddy Frederick, has won a number of international awards. The film was screened on March 9th at the Grenada National Museum, and it is a biopic of the lives of two Kalinago men in the Commonwealth of Dominica. The Honorable Minister Kozia Frederick, the first cabinet representative from his tribe, and Lorenzo Sanford, the youngest elected chief of the Kalinago territory. According to the director, the film was as a result of a collaboration between a German concern and his outfit, which highlights the efforts to preserve their culture and identity and land against threats and deforestation and industrialization. On Tuesday, March 21st, the Nature Island Literary Festival held a special Orange Bullet Tribute Day to coincide with World Poetry Day. Every year on March 21st, UNESCO celebrates World Poetry Day, and March 21st was adopted as World Poetry Day by the UNESCO in 1999 to honor poets and to pay tribute to the expanding linguistic variety and sharing of oral traditions through the poetic form. And we have a statement here from Celia Sorrendo, the curator of the Nature Island Literary Festival Facebook page, who was one of two of our guests on the show last week, who told the podcast that the NFL, the NILF, was grateful for the poetry tributes to Dr. Olin Bully that were received and shared on the NILF Facebook page during World Poetry Day, Tuesday, 21st March, and extends a big thank you to all who submitted poetic tributes, she said, adding, "We recognize as well that it is not always easy to find time to craft a poem that we are happy with sharing publicly. And for some, the poetic muse can't always be made to appear on demand. Also, processing the loss of someone dear to us can take a lot of time, much less transforming perhaps difficult thoughts and emotions into poetry. So we welcome tribute poems to Alwyn at any time." And on Wednesday, we learned that the government of Dominica is to introduce legislation to allow the Creole language to be spoken in Parliament. The Island Government Information Service reported in its March 21st National Focus newscast that the Honorable Joseph Isaac, Speaker of the House of Assembly, that it should not be long before members of the House will be allowed to deliver their contributions in Creole. According to Julia Morris, hitherto the rules of the House stipulated that only the English language was allowed and any other language should be translated. Honorable Isaac said that this is a progressive step and there is a widespread support for this suggestion on both sides of the House, and it is a step in the right direction. It is a step in the right direction, reflecting our African and Kalinago culture and history. The matter is to be placed on the agenda of the Standing Order Committee and to be brought to the Parliament at the soonest possible occasion to make an amendment to the rules and to be presented to the House for approval. And in more cinematic news, filming of Fusion Under the Sun, a documentary by Terry Galvini based on a book titled Zoukland, written by Dominica's father of Kadas music, a musical genre created by Gordon Henderson and Exile One, Gramax, Midnight Groovers, and other Dominican bands, is going well, says Henderson, and is nearing completion. And he says the production of the documentary is progressing satisfactorily. So far, we did Dominica, Guadeloupe, Trinidad. We need to do Martinique, Paris, and the Indian Ocean. Then the big job of editing in 2 languages. We are targeting release by the end of the year, Gordon Henderson told the podcast. And on 23rd March was the 131st anniversary of the death of Elmer Napier. Elmer Napier, the grandmother of Dominica's well-known historian, anthropologist, and historian Dr. Leonard Honeychurch, was born in 1892. Honeychurch, writing on his Facebook profile, said his grandmother Elmer Napier was born in Scotland on 23rd March 1892 and that she settled with her family at Calibishi in the northern Dominica in 1932 and became a leading literary and political personality on the island. Napier, he said, was the first woman to be elected to any Caribbean parliament in 1940 and served for 12 years representing the Northeastern District. According to Honey Church, Polly Potello, Polly Potello, a publisher living on the island, noted in the promotion of Napier's memoir, Black and White Sands, Elmer Napier's love affair with Dominica, then a British colony, began in 1932 when she turned her back on London's high society to build a home in a remote coastal village on that most mysterious and seductive of all Caribbean islands. Black and White Sands is the memoir of her life, there of bohemian house parties, war and death, smugglers and stuff, and above all, of stories inspired by her political life as the only woman in a colonial parliament. Also, her love for the island's turbulent landscapes and a curiosity about the lives of and the culture of its people, mainly in the northern eastern district. She died in Dominica in 1974, and the time is already 11 minutes, moving down past midnight here on the podcast, and you are listening to the best podcast in town, the Albert Williams Reporting Podcast.
Remarkable. And very large and in charge. The best DJ in...
As we continue, with our highlights for the week, and in more filmmaking news from the Caribbean, this time from St. Vincent, Ackley Alton, an award-winning filmmaker from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, has released a film called Sugarlands, exploring slavery links between Wales and his small island state. The film was commissioned in 2022 by the University of Wales and Trinity St. David. The film explores Wales and its slavery links with the island of St. Vincent and includes scenes depicting Dominica among other Caribbean countries. And Dominica will also feature in a film about life in the West Indies from 1860 to 1960, created by the famous filmmaker Patrick Borsellino at Tar in partnership with Discover Dominica Authority. Atalanta, which covers a century of what life was like in the West Indies, also includes depictions and the evolution of West Indian life in Guadeloupe, Martinique, Barbados, St. Croix, and Cuba from the beginning in 1860, when there was no pipe-borne water, no electricity, replete with historical reconstructions with extras, period artifacts, and utensils. And former marketing manager of Digicel, Natalie Walsh, is the new events manager at Discover Dominica Authority. According to a release from the government of Dominica, Natalie Walsh was appointed to the top job from March 13, 2023, and she is well known as a marketing professional with years of experience in marketing strategy and event planning and management, having served more recently as the head of distribution and marketing for the Fine Foods Group. And Mrs. Walsh has also served as head of commercial sales and marketing manager for telecommunications company Digicel from 2006 to 2017. Walsh has also served as a consultant with the Guyana Telegraph and Telephone Company. The Discover Dominic Authority stages a number of high-profile entertainment events, including the Mass Dominic, the Real Mass, the World Creole Music Festival, Jazz in Creole. I'm talking about Jazz in Creole this week. The 12th edition of Jazz in Creole was officially launched at a media press launch during Jazz in the City on Tuesday, March 22nd at the Kai Tea restaurant in the historic city of Roseau in the beautiful Commonwealth of Dominica. Jazz in Creole is a fusion of jazz and Creole music, food, fashion, and culture, set for April 30th at Fort Shirley in the Cabrits National Park in Portsmouth. And our final news item this morning, The Grandpa Was an Emperor documentary, executive produced by Cynthia Erivo, is set for a freestyle release. According to the report, Freestyle Digital Media has acquired North American video-on-demand rights to the documentary Grandpa Was an Emperor from director Constant Marks. The documentary, which explores the context of the collapse of a 3,000-year-old dynasty, chiefly told through the reflections of the great-granddaughter of Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, Yeshi Kassa, who with her sister were thousands of miles away in a British boarding school when her grandfather was deposed. This is personal quest to discover what happened to her closest relatives during the coup of 1974. The documentary will premiere in Los Angeles from April 7th to 13th and released digitally on May 30th, 2023. And in some more news, you would have heard that a tornado disaster occurred at sundown just before 8 p.m. on Friday in Mississippi, and a state of emergency has been declared. At least 26 are feared dead, and vast swaths of land in Avery, Mississippi, and Rolling Fork seems to be the worst hit areas. Search and rescue teams have descended on the area amid horrific stories of survival. In the aftermath, the images on social media show terrible outbreaks of tornadoes, shows utter destruction. Dozens are said to have been victims, and many more hundred as rescuers pulled survivors from the rubble. The system is said to be heading now for Alabama. And finally, on our news highlights for March 19 to March 25th this morning, the former members of the People's Action Fair, PAT, are tonight hosting a virtual tribute to our undisputed national hero, Dr. Alwyn Bully. So far, we have seen contributions from the former Chief Cultural Officer, Raymond Lawrence, who recalled highlights of Alwyn's career, and Dr. Lennox Honeychurch, who took a deeper look at Alwyn's prolific playwriting and directing legacy. Original actors of the People's Action Theatre productions from the 70s, Streak, Ruler, Nightbox, Folk Nativity, P.O.P.O., Green Gold, Winds of Change, and other Alwyn's plays are expected to appear on the show, which is currently being streamed live from the Facebook page Alwyn Legacy. My wife and I would just like to congratulate all who have come together to make this virtual tribute a success as it is. And we also like to extend our deepest condolences to you all, especially his wife and family and the rest of the home circle and the entire cultural fraternity at home and abroad. And that was some of the highlights of some of the news stories that caught my attention this week. Coming up, we'll be speaking with a well-known author from Dominica, Yakima Cuffy. She's there in the green room. We'll be having her out and we'll be talking to her when we come back. Stay tuned for more and much, much more.
And you know, if anything, I'm backstage. I'm the background person, okay? So, your listening audiences, I hope you've enjoyed Albert touch base with a lot of the highlight news that caught his attention. And he's the maestro. He's at the mic. And I personally want to welcome our guest author, Miss Yakima Cuffy. Did I pronounce your name correct?
That's correct, Mrs. Williams. Yakima Cuffy.
Well, that's beautiful, and that's a beautiful name. You know what? Before we get started, may I ask you, what does that name mean, Yakima? That is beautiful.
Thank you. I think it means Friday.
Friday.
Well,
Yeah.
right now you see, I'm battling with a lot of things, but nothing will stop the show. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it back over to Albert, but at this very time, keep the smile on your face. You have a beautiful smile. Albert, I see you, and he's gonna mute me in a minute because he knows how I'm gonna talk. But
Well,
right now, I'm gonna ask the audiences. Albert mentioned it in his highlights to say a special prayer for all of my people, my family that's living in the United States with this mile-wide tornado. They had 13 tornadoes that have hit the area, and I have a lot of people that I don't know personally, but they belong to groups and things. I've done book signings in that area. So prayers up for them, survivors. To my understanding, the whole couple of islands have been devastated. So we don't want to bring any alarm, but the families that are still looking for loved ones, if you can help, if you can post anything, please feel free to do so. Because remember, it could be you. It could be you. All right? Back to you, Albert. You can mute me out. You're listening to the best podcast in town.
Well, what I would say just on that level is that at times like this, we really, you have to ask them why me? You know, why should I have to start from scratch again? All my possessions lost, people dead, people injured. You know, just like when the earthquake occurred in Syria, that caused a problem with, you know, the whole area devastated. You know, the Caribbean a couple of years ago was the same thing. It's just a fact of life that do not get too attached to material things, because in a blink of the eye they can be wiped away, washed away through sickness, through disease, through whatever actions, natural disasters, your own mistakes can cause you to lose everything. You know.
Very true.
So that is life. This is the truth of life. This is what they don't teach you in Sunday school. And I'm saying, and today, Sunday morning in the UK, this is what we're teaching you. We're teaching you to acknowledge life as something sacred. But let us not dwell too much on that. We've got Yakima Cuffy in the house with us. She hails from the Commonwealth of Dominica, the nature island of the Caribbean. Yakima is an award-winning writer, poet, and playwright. She is a lawyer by profession. And we'll be hearing a lot more from Yakima shortly. The prominent themes in her writing are patriotism, West Indian identity, migration, faith, sensuality, and she also has published in the Caribbean Writer, Volume 35, Midnight and Indigo, online magazine, and the YT Kubuli Writers Anthology of New Dominican Writing. And yes, she has done quite a bit. She has won the Dominica's National Independence Literary Competition on numerous occasions. And she has also been long listed for the BCLF Elizabeth Nunes Caribbean American Writers Prize for 3 times. And she emerged as finalist in 2020. In addition, she has also performed spoken word poetry at various events, including the Boca's Literary Festival stand and deliver segments. Yes, Yakima is a graduate of the University of the West Indies, Caveville campus, and alumnus of the Create Caribbean Crafting Short Fiction Writing Workshop. And Yakima, welcome again, official welcome. You're the third guest on this series, and this is postcard number 6, and you're our third guest.
Welcome from me also.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be joining you tonight and the listening audience.
Okay, so tell me something about, in spite of all your achievements, do you mind like telling us a little bit about how you started writing? Because prior to this, prior to tonight, I sent you a little clip of some action you were involved in the Dominica Writers Guild over 20 years ago. So at least from that point of view, I have reference that you've been writing, publishing, associating with writers for the last 20 years and more. Would you mind just telling us a little bit more so that people can get to know you better?
Sure, no problem at all. So you're correct, Albert. I have been writing since I was 8 years old. I started writing at 8. An early mentor of mine was Harris Silly. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yes.
I know he used to be a top guy there in Frontline Bookstore, and I joined the Dominica Writers Guild at his invitation, and I participated in a few events of the guild. I know there were a lot of writers in there, Calypsonians, even the late Dr. Bully.
Yeah.
I also would have performed at one of the Nature Island literary festivals. I know Mr. Bully was very influential with the festival as well. And so I've been quite active on the Dominica literary landscape, and of recent have been expanding my writing regionally as well as internationally.
Okay, what are some of your biggest
Alice,
sources
could I
of
ask a question
inspiration?
before you continue? Because she said something so interesting.
Yeah.
Yakima, could I ask you, um, because what did I hear you right? My mic in my ear. You see, I'm having a little technical problems. But could I ask you? You started at 8 years old.
Yes, yes, I did. My first poem that I wrote is called O Dominica, and that poem was penned at the age of 8.
That is just beautiful. And I saw an article. I think it's been, I'm not telling off the age on either one of us, but it looked like it's about 21 years ago. And Albert wrote the piece, and it just was a beautiful article. Albert, you can zero in on what I'm talking about. But Yakima, who are some of the authors that inspired you from the island of Dominica that really, because at 8 years old, I'm going to tell you something, and for you to have pursued that all the way through and become, did you know then, or did you have a passion? Was your aim then to become an international award winning author then, or were you just want to do what you wanted to do at that time?
No, I think at that time, my interest really wasn't in award winning. Writing and creativity on a whole was just an outlet for me to express my creativity, and so I just enjoyed writing for the fun of it. I didn't think that it may be something that I would, necessarily be able to make a future in, especially considering that, in the Caribbean, we don't focus too much on the creative aspects. We tend to focus on other career paths. But I just enjoyed writing. I started mostly with poetry, and then expanded into short story writing as well as playwriting, which was really developed more or less while I was at university.
Well,
Well,
Yakima, the thing
I
is,
want to congratulate you
okay.
also because we just had, I'm going to tell you, you've become one of my heroes at this point. Because we just in America celebrated, well, across the world, international. In fact, this whole month is International Women's Month. So I've always been a champion for women's rights also. And what you've done put us on the ticket, just like my husband Albert. I have learned more about the Caribbean than I ever have thought I would dream of. And to be honest with you, I think more should be on the map because the creativity that comes from the Caribbean is genuine. I've never heard, I never felt such poetic justice that comes from the beauty of the island and your soul. It's not about fictitious just images that someone read about it in the book. You actually are writing about something that you love and that you know. And I just tell you something that's beautiful. I'm heartfelt when I say that. And also, I want to thank you also for inspiring my husband. Um, and, I just don't want to say too much because he has a whole agenda. But if I don't get the time to say this, I probably, I'm not one of those woulda, shoulda, coulda people. I'm a now person. Tomorrow is not promised. The next moment is not promised. And
True.
if you don't say what you feel now, you may never have an opportunity to. So I want to thank you. I want to thank your immediate family for supporting you through all these years. Because from
Thank
8
you.
years old until now, I know it's been a struggle. And I know it has not been easy. And you've traveled You've been in all of the places, and we need to have more women like you that's not afraid to pursue their dreams.
Okay,
That's
Tempie
back to you,
Williams.
Albert. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
very
giving me that
much.
moment.
Thank you very much, Yakima. There you heard it. Tempie herself is a best-selling novelist, and
Nice.
we'll just share that on air now. That Tempie and we met through a publisher. When I returned to the UK in 2004, one of the first things I did was to look for publishers to publish my short stories. And Tempie was in America, and I was in England, and we met on this publisher's website called Publish America. And she had just published a book, a novel, and I had just published a book of short stories. And we got to talking, and one thing led to the next. And 18 years later, we're still together. We're married. We have this wonderful life. But enough about us. You spoke about
Yeah, but the
wait,
thing
no.
you missed out so special in your talk,
Yeah.
and I don't mind saying it, Yakima, what I had no idea that we would have met back then, and I lost both my parents a month apart in 2002. Okay, so
Okay.
I basically had no plan of writing a fiction novel. Those were just my notes. I love to write too, and I had to write for comfort to get over their deaths a month apart, and they died in my arms. Both my parents kissed their lips with their last breath. And let me tell you something. My dad's anniversary was March 5th of this year, 21 years. And my mom, you even sort of remind me of my mom. You sort of remind me of my mom. That's why I guess I keep looking, because I have a picture, and my mom, is that a red top you have on? I have a picture of my mom, and you look just like her. I'm going to show it to Albert, and he'll agree. But what I wanted to say is, Albert responded to a post that I had put on the Publish America website, and I was so impressed that I wrote the publisher, and I said, "Who is this Albert Williams? Who is he?" Because from America, the name Williams, Albert Williams sounded like he didn't sound like a dread at all. Okay. And so the next thing I know, they, for privacy, they couldn't tell me a whole lot. But when they did, Albert and I just kind of met our penmanship back and forth. And he invited me to come over here to England. He wanted to come to me in America, but it's a long story. America, we have a lot to desire in terms of Rastafari, in terms of creativity. And I'm not knocking Americans. I love it. I'm a born American, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But the Caribbean is a whole other side of the world that they didn't teach me about. And
Okay.
so I've learned so much from Albert, and I've learned so much from you and everybody. And so I know Albert has just kind of gave me time to talk, but I'm going to give it back. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome, Tempie. And it was lovely to hear your story of how you guys met.
Thank you.
Is that
While we're waiting, let me tell the audience
I have to refresh.
that everything that you see, Albert has basically created it himself. And that's why I shout out, I'm the wifey. I'm the proud wifey. And neither one of us knew, but we're each other's support. When you talk to one, when he starts to send us, I'll finish it, and it's vice versa. So right now he's backstage getting everything together, but I'm very impressed with all of the obstacles, the limitations. He's never stopped. And Yakima, another thing.
After Ada, about her publication in the anthology.
Yeah. You know what? I'm enough about me and Albert. You're the guest on the show. Tell us a little bit about your publication in Gator and your anthology. You have to just butt in because right now I want everybody to understand and know you and know, you're just a fantastic person. Tell us about that. Tell us a little bit about your day job and what keeps you going now. You even can bring in, I see that you don't know your personal, if you have a family. I know you've got good support behind you, but tell us about your anthology. What got you into it and your workshop?
Right. So I was recently published in Ada magazine. Ada is really the Commonwealth Writers Literary Magazine, and they recently published an anthology, Remember to Rest, which really focuses on health and nature. And so the piece that I would have submitted is a short story, and it was selected for publication, and that came out late last month. The name of the story is The Long Way Home. So you can read it on Ada magazine on the Commonwealth Foundation's website, and it's part of a collection from other writers around the world on the topic of health and nature.
That's great. That's
You also
great.
asked about my family and support. Yes, I am happily married. I was
Let's see. I'm
married.
breaking up with the sound. I'm talking to you right now on just my little mobile smartphone, and that's what's happening to me. But I'm breaking up. So are you talking directly into a microphone?
Yes, can you hear me clearly?
Okay, now I hear you much better. Yeah.
Okay.
That is so great.
Yes, so I was saying that I am recently married, happily married to Mr. Dylan Basil. And I have had family support throughout my journey. My parents, Neva and Washington Cuffy, have been very supportive of me over the years. I'm an attorney by profession, so that is my main career. I do writing as really a passion project. And so it has been good to be able to find that balance, that time to balance my career as an attorney, as well as continue to nurture my passion for writing. And with the help of my supportive family, my parents, my husband, I must say that it has been quite a journey.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful, beautiful story. What is it that you would like the listening audience? Because we've done a lot of promoting. I know Albert has, and he's a guru when it comes to social media, his journalistic abilities. But what is it that you want your viewers, your listeners, to take from your presence tonight? What is it that you would like to tell them that no one else has told them, no one else has written about, that only Yakima knows? And in terms of how I'm sure they would want to get some of your publications. just you have the floor now. And I'm a salesperson. You can tell. I love communicating. So sell your
Right.
stuff right now.
Right. Well, really and truly, I want my work to resonate with my readers. I write very heavily about experiences from Dominica, some my own experiences, and some stories that would have been told by, my parents, my grandparents. And I think Dominica and the Caribbean as a whole, we have a rich culture, rich heritage. And certainly, I think that we need to capture that as writers, as poets. I think that we cannot let these experiences be lost to memory. I think that they need to be canonized, and I am proud that I have the opportunity and the ability to do so by recording some of these experiences, some of these moments, and so that we can share them with the world. I think that we also have a very authentic style of storytelling in the Caribbean because we have so many accents, we have so many dialects, and a lot of times that in itself is not seen in the international literary landscape. And I think that it is time we show the world how we speak. I think that language itself is culture. And so when we write and capture the essence of our culture through our dialect, through our language, I think that it is bringing a bit of our unique Caribbean flavor to the international market. So that is what I think that I bring out in my writing, and I do hope that that resonates with my readers.
Well, I'm sure it does. It resonates with me. And just the creative abilities that you have. I noticed that just from what you said, it cannot be lost. And to continue it with all of the literary workshops, not just, correct me if I'm saying the wrong thing, but poems and the poetic creativity is great. Do you see that it could expand to more books in terms of documentation is so important, and not so much with with any one person, but you look at TV and you see all of the other TV channels, and somewhere along the line they had the funds, they had the connections to do that. It was not lost. And from what I hear from Albert, it's a lot going on at this moment in time. And it doesn't take a lot. It just takes the willingness to do it, to document, to tell your story. And you can tell your stories in different ways, even in painting, like Dr. Booley, who right now they're doing a beautiful, beautiful tribute to him. But I stop and I think about all of the creativity that has inspired me. I come from back where we had Writer's Digest school. And like I said, I just took myself to the library. I had nobody to teach me. I just wrote what my thoughts were and found out. And then I went and found out how can I register it so that it would be copyrighted so people wouldn't steal my ideas. And I ended up registering it to the Library of Congress. So I guess where I'm going with all of that, is the encouragement for youngsters nowadays that's 8 years old like you, that they don't have to just stop at writing a poem. They can start writing books, writing plays themselves. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes, certainly. I think that we need to nurture the young generation to inspire them to keep up this craft, because this is going to essentially be our history, a celebration of our history through the writing and the recording of our Caribbean stories. So I think it's
Yes,
important that we certainly have training sessions for the younger generation. I do know that of recent, Dr. Shyla Esprit has been one of the persons who have been, creating avenues for mentorship through writing workshops. I was part of the short fiction workshop, and I know that there is one on poetry upcoming. I do know that there are persons like Shauna and Delroy Williams who have been having events like Lyrics Under the Stars, which really is an outlet for young writers, poets, and creatives to come together and share their work. And so
yes,
I think that these are important avenues, because our young people need to know that they have the spaces available for them to create, share their work, bounce ideas off of others, and get feedback. And I think through these avenues, we can ensure that future generations maintain the craft of writing.
Okay,
that is
looks
just
like
absolutely beautiful. Okay, so
Tempie.
you're
Yeah, I'm back. Look, I had to restart all from scratch to build back up the system. I totally lost control of my inputs and outputs. I had no sound coming in, going out. But if you can hear me now, it looks like we're good to go. The time is 8 minutes, moving up on 1 o'clock. Remember, at 1 o'clock, and the clocks go forward 1 hour. So we got the pips standing by. At the sound of the pips, it will be 2 a.m. GMT +1. So we got 8 minutes left here with Yakima Cuffy. If you would like to stay on a little bit later for the program, that will be fine with us. But Yakima, I'd just like to let you know that we got a little surprise for you for being a guest on our program. We have a certificate for you that we'd like to I'm going to pop it into your Facebook messenger right now for being
Thank
our
you.
guest. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it was a pleasure to share with you and Tempie and your listening audience.
Yeah.
Albert, are you hearing us?
Yeah, I'm not hearing Tempie. Hold on.
just people to resonate this numbers and information where if someone is listening, they can write back to her personally and find out how she wants to continue this, because she's already got everything going. I can tell she's an okay lady, okay? And we just want to resonate this and get the Caribbean around globally, not just, the story needs to go around. It does not need to stay in a bubble.
Very true, very true. And I hope to actually publish a full-length collection of short stories. So
Yeah.
we'll certainly keep you all updated on that, but I hope to have that in the near future.
And I bet you would be good at some nonfiction uh, things. You know, let me just say, I love fiction because I can create and make it be the way I want it to be. But the truth, the history should be taught around the world. Everybody needs to know about the Caribbean. They need to know about the beautiful nature island of Dominica. I'm a little angry because I never was taught this. And I went to some of the best universities in America and I thought I had it together to find out I didn't know a thing.
Okay, Yakima, I'm showing you your certificate up on the screen there. I don't know if you can see it. It's now in your
Okay.
on your way to your messenger
Oh, that's
box.
beautiful.
Yeah, you can cherish that for being our guest and the time you spent here with us Sunday, March 26, 2023, for appearing as a guest on the Albert Williams Reporting Podcast. We take care of our guests here on the Albert Williams Reporting Podcast. As you can see, Tempie is taking good care of you as the good host, a hostess. Eh?
Yes, it certainly is. Thank you so much for this
Thank
Yeah.
token of
you.
appreciation.
Thank you
It
for
was a
being
pleasure
patient.
with you guys. No problem at all. No problem at all. And I do hope that you guys continue to inspire others, continue writing and reading, and supporting Caribbean authors.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
with the help of people like you, we will. You know, and that's what it takes. That's I'm from the 2020 theory. You see, it takes it takes good people. 20% can do 80% of the work, and that's all we need right now is just one or two good people to carry the word. So thank you again, and continue with your whole life. And I heard a little bit. Thank you to your supportive family, your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your just your immediate family. Thank you so much. You are a beautiful young lady.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Well,
Yakima,
good
you're
evening. And I wish you all a great rest of your show.
okay, thank you. And look in your message, your Facebook Messenger. You will see your certificate there. I hope you can earn another one sometime soon.
Sure,
Because
no
everybody will
problem.
get your certificate. Yeah, it's been fun having you. It's been fun having you, speaking with you, as short as it was. But we have another segment coming up. I'm going to be looking at a publication I wrote called Two Sermons Preached by Charles Peters in Dominica in 1800. He was a fighter against the slave trade. He was an Anglican vicar here in Roseau, and he was chased out of Roseau for some poems that he not poems, sorry, two sermons on Good Friday and Easter Sunday. He he wrote some really scathing remarks against the plantocracy in Dominica and reminded them that you also have a father who is in heaven, and you should be careful how you treat others because you have a father who will also come to judge you. And they were not very pleased about that. Just bear with me two
Amen.
seconds. So,
Is he talking about
yeah,
Peter?
these are the two
Yeah.
books I have. They're like study companion. One is the critical exposition, right? Of this. This was his two
Right.
speeches. They're now in public domain. So I republished his original book from the 1800 manuscript. But the thing about it is it's very dense. It's very, very dense language. So you cannot really just read it and understand it. You have to do some assimilation of the just think about it, 17th century English,
Right.
and this man was a very educated person. But I want you to stand by now. We're going to go right over to the Pips to bring in the British summertime. And there you have it. We are now in the 2 a.m. GMT +1. It's 2 o'clock in the morning here, and I'm just going to bring up the page to share that with our listeners. Yeah, so we actually advanced a whole hour of our program without even working for it.
Is the clock set back yet?
No, it's forward. It's gone forward 1 hour.
Oh, spring forward. Yes.
Yeah, so it's daylight saving time now. So right now it is not 1 o'clock. It is 2 a.m. GMT +1. Though listeners in Dominica, no need to set your clocks. We are just now 5 hours ahead of you in the United Kingdom. And there you can see on the screen there, time in the United Kingdom is now 2:01:27 seconds. So that's 1 minute after 2 and
That's
44
beautiful, Albert
seconds
Williams.
and 44 seconds and climbing. Okay?
So Dominica does not have to partake in the savings time.
Well, no, Dominica is right now 5 hours behind. So they're 5 hours minus GMT, minus
Okay.
5 GMT.
Okay. And in the United States, on most of the coasts, they went on daylight savings time 2 weeks ago, roughly around March 12th. So it depends on what coast you're on.
Well,
So
yeah,
that's why
because
the +1.
there are many time zones, in America.
Yeah, we
You know,
have the Pacific, the Eastern, the Central.
and you have Atlantic Standard Time, which
Yeah.
I think which Dominica goes by. Dominica kind of linked with GMT, which is Atlantic Standard Time. And this was first designed to help the population and season-dependent farmers to maximize the amount of sunlight they would get in a year. Like if you go to work now, at 7 o'clock, it's still going to be a little bit dark because instead of the sun rising at 6 at 7, it's now rising at 8. Because you've advanced the time. And that came into existence in 1916, the Summertime Act, after a petition by a British builder called William Willett and the great-grandfather of Coldplay frontman Chris Martin. So that's some trivia there for you, that the Daylight Saving Time or the Summertime Act was brought into existence in the United Kingdom in 1916 after a petition by British builder William Willett, who happens to be the great-grandfather of Coldplay frontman Chris Martin.
I read a little bit of that research. That is interesting. The original, what was his name? The grandfather,
William Willett.
William Willett, and he never saw this, but his plan was already in action, and we're grateful that his great-great-grandson carried it on.
Okay, so Tempie, let's take a break here. Let's reorientate ourselves. What I'm going to do, I'm going to share my poem that I dedicated to Alwyn. There was a man who lived. to this last outpost of the colonial British Empire when he was born. Just another West Indian destined to greatness, I suppose. Like the god of the Aztecs, his plumage would blossom, his passion ignited, love for an island, his culture, sprung from that fertile spot in Roseau. A creative soul at heart, he was the William Shakespeare of Dominica. As he blossomed, his theatrical creations he would share with Dominica, the Caribbean, and the world. Good morning, Miss Millie. Streak, the ruler, folk nativity, P.O., the night box, to name just a few. His plays are legendary, his radio dramas, historic masterpieces. His art will live on, even though the mural did not. Then he became Dominica's first chief cultural officer, only to upgrade to program specialist for culture, for UNESCO, for 20 long years. The Nature Island Literary Festival was just another of his remarkable creations. The flag that he designed in 1978 will fly at half-mast in April. The Cicero parrot will rest its threaded head against that metal flagstaff and weep. The 10 lime-colored stars will twinkle brightly but sadly. The greenery of the forest of his birthland will officially mourn his passing, regardless of class, creed, or even culture. We will remember him. We will celebrate his great works to succeeding generations. Dr. Alwyn Bully will be remembered among the greats,
and
among the
medicine and everything else.
ancestors,
And I was
like
teaching
Sir
at the grammar
Derek
school. I remember
Walcott,
when,
like
school
B.S.
all in that
Naipaul,
there was this opportunity
like
to
George
study Jamaica
Lamin,
theater at the
and
Jamaica School
many
of Drama, now
others,
the Edna Manley
too
School for Visual Arts.
numerous to mention,
And
I
the
suppose.
advice that he gave then was that you're venturing into something that's
No shepherds followed any star.
something
The best DJ in town is here. He's the best DJ in town is here. He's revolutionary. Remarkable. And very large and in charge.
let them know what's going on in the society, because theater in a sense is going to reflect that. And so
of things. Okay,
Yeah, Tempe, we're
so
experiencing.
you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. The streams must be congested.
It's like you've got some.
What's that? I was trying to share some of the closing remarks of the Allwyn Bully tribute by the People's Action Theatre.
Okay,
I think we'll have a short program this evening because of the all the technical problems we're having. And we had quite a good interview with Yakima Cuffy. We'd like to thank Yakima Cuffy for coming on the podcast this morning. It's late in the evening in Dominica and early in the morning for us here, and she spent a good little time with us, and we really appreciate that, Tempie. What do you think? Yeah. So what we're gonna do, I think I'm a little bit excited about tonight's program. I think I will leave the rest of the readings of the two sermons of Charles Peters perhaps for next week's program, and bring this program to a close. We've had a rough 1 hour and 30 minutes of it, which is more than
broadcasting
than
live
usual.
worldwide.
The best DJ in town is
Just a minute,
here.
let
He's
this
revolutionary.
other ad.
Remarkable. Remarkable. And very large. Large and in charge.
I'm Tempie Williams, author of the best-selling novel Feelings, and you're listening to the Albert Williams Reporting Podcast. I am Tempie Williams, author of the best-selling novel Feelings, and you are listening to the Albert Williams Reporting Podcast.
Live with only the best in progressive house.
Okay, so Tempe, we're gonna bring down the curtains on this podcast for the 26th of March, Sunday. We had a blast. We had Yakima Coffee on. We had a great news segment, a lot of items discussed there, a lot of movies and films, historical films in the making, just been released, and we're also expecting a few more films to be released. There's a historical film about slavery in Denmark. It's called The Fan of Virgin, something like that, and we expect that to be released in April as well. And we have Gordon Henderson's film on his book, Zookland, is also in the making. Within a few weeks or months, we expect to see a film on Gordon Henderson's book as well. Any final words for us as we step out of this advanced British summertime edition of the program?
Okay, Albert, it sounds good. So far, you've had a dynamite podcast, and I want to thank you for orchestrating and getting it all together in spite of the technical difficulties. Again, I join you in welcoming our guest, who I don't know whether she's still listening, but she's not in the studio right now, Yakima Cuffy, who gave us a beautiful talk about her life, her work, her aspirations, her collaborations, and what she wanted to leave and share with the aspiring youth to continue the voice and the story of the beautiful nature island, Dominica. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No one could have said it better. That's the executive producer, Tempie Williams. bringing this show to a close. We had our guest Yakima Cuffy, best winning, award winning poet, playwright, and short story writer, ex-member of the Dominica Writers Guild, member of the Whitey Kubuli Writers Group, and on and on and on. Dominica has a lot of writing talent, a lot of talent in the likes of Olin Bully, who we are celebrating his life and legacy. He'll be laid to rest on April 5th, and there'll be more information coming for you in regards to the official funeral of the late great Dr. Olin Bully.
Yes. We salute you, Dr. Bully, all of your work. You were the master, and you see with your student, Albert Williams, his rendition was just beautiful. So I'm going to sign out, audience. So long.
The best DJ in town is here. He's revolutionary. Remarkable. And very large and in charge.